Welcome to another explainer in the Be Relevant series. Today, we're actually exploring a different subject, stepping away from the usual knowledge you'd get straight out of a book. We are going to uncover a 150-year-old financial secret that literally dictates almost every single aspect of your daily life. We're going to decode this invisible corporate matrix that surrounds us all. But more importantly, we're going to figure out exactly how we can step out of the role of exploited consumers and actually start profiting from this very system. Okay, let's dive right into this. Tomorrow morning, when you roll into a petrol pump, take a really close look at the price board. Then, go to the next pump down the road, and the one after that. What are you going to see? The exact same price everywhere. Whether it's HP, Indian Oil, Barth Petroleum, or Reliance, the price is practically identical. Have you ever actually wondered why that is? Because, we're told that since 2010, petrol prices in India have been completely deregulated. On paper, it's supposed to be this completely free market. Companies are supposedly free to set their own competitive prices. But think about it. If it were truly a free market, wouldn't there be a difference? One guy might sell it a little cheaper to steal customers. Another might charge a premium for better quality. But they don't. Why? Because what you think is competition is actually a perfectly synchronized cartel. It completely shatters this whole illusion of a free market. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The illusion of free markets. 2. Rockefeller's monopoly playbook. 3. Modern titans using the system. 4. Red flags of dead competition. 5. The true cost to consumers. And finally, 6. The investor's escape plan. Section 1. The illusion of free markets. You see, what feels like vibrant, healthy competition today is actually a carefully designed, highly consolidated system. You really aren't navigating a free market. You're navigating a matrix. Let's think back to 2016 when Jio launched. Remember that? Free voice calls, unlimited free data. The entire country went absolutely crazy, standing in massive lines just to get their hands on those SIM cards. You probably thought, wow, finally, a company that really cares about the common man. But, well, that free data wasn't charity, not even close. It was the calculated cost of murdering the competition. Within just a few years, Aircel and Reliance Communication went completely bankrupt. Tata Docomo and Telenor vanished. Vodafone and Idea were forced into this desperate, massive merger just to stay alive. An industry that used to have over 10 active players was brutally consolidated down to essentially just 3. In that game, you weren't the lucky customer being gifted free data. You were actually the weapon they used to clear the board. Section 2. Rockefeller's monopoly playbook. Now, here's the crazy part. This strategy isn't new at all. Let me introduce you to the ultimate architect of this entire system, John D. Rockefeller. At his peak, if you adjust for inflation, his net worth was over $400 billion. The man controlled a staggering 2% of the entire U.S. economy, all by himself, no joke. But his real legacy isn't the money. It's the invisible playbook he invented that still runs our world today. Back in 1859, the oil rush hit America. Everyone was out there frantically drilling for crude oil, treating the whole thing like a giant casino. But young Rockefeller, he realized that drilling was a total gamble. The real, guaranteed profit wasn't in finding the oil, it was in refining it, cleaning it up into kerosene. Because it didn't matter who struck oil, they all had to pay someone to refine it. So he opens his refinery in 1863. Within less than a decade, he launched what historians actually call the Cleveland Massacre, ruthlessly buying out or bankrupting 25 of his 26 competitors in just 3 months. By 1879, he controlled 90% of all the oil refined in the United States. So, the crucial point here is this. Rockefeller didn't just win a business game. He created a 5-step master framework for how to dominate absolutely any market forever. He practically invented vertical integration, horizontal consolidation, corporate trusts to shield himself from the law, regulatory capture to essentially rewrite the rules in his favor, and philanthropic influence to manage all the public outrage. This framework is the very foundation of our modern corporate matrix. Let's actually look at how today's biggest companies are using this exact blueprint right now. Section 3. Modern titans using the system. Like I said, this isn't just some dry history lesson. It's the exact same playbook used by today's corporate giants. We're talking Reliance, Amazon, Google, Big Pharma. They are literally just Rockefeller's disciples wearing modern suits. Let's look at principle 1, vertical integration. Rockefeller didn't stop at refining oil. He bought the forests to make his own wooden barrels. He bought the tank wagons. He built his own warehouses, all to keep every single penny of profit. Now, consider Dhirubhai Ambani's Reliance. He started out in textiles. Well, to make clothes, you need synthetic thread from petrochemicals, right? So he built a petrochemical plant. To get petrochemicals, you need refined oil. So he went ahead and built the world's largest refinery in Jamnagar. And to feed that refinery, you need crude. So Reliance moved into oil and gas exploration. He systematically walked backwards down the supply chain, ensuring that at every single step, the profit stayed entirely inside the Reliance ecosystem. This is exactly how dominant players leverage vertical integration to protect their long-term profits. Then we have Principle 3. Back in 1882, when the public and the government finally tried to break Rockefeller's monopoly, his lawyers got creative and invented the corporate trust. He placed 34 separate companies under one giant umbrella. Legally, sure, they were separate, but practically, he was the guy pulling all the strings. This same brilliant blueprint powers the modern holding company. Alphabet, for example, produces absolutely nothing itself, but it owns Google, YouTube, and DeepMind. Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Tata Sons owns TCS, Tata Motors, and Taj Hotels. When the 2008 financial crisis hit and sweeping laws like Dodd-Frank were passed to regulate the banks, these holding company structures made it incredibly difficult to figure out who to actually regulate. That corporate umbrella perfectly shields them. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when horizontal consolidation reaches its absolute peak. Google currently controls an astonishing 92% of the global search market. I mean, Rockefeller only hit 91% in oil, but regulators rarely ever touch Google because, well, the product is free. But remember our geo lesson, absolutely nothing is free. You are just paying with a completely different currency. You're paying with your personal data, your habits, your locations, your deepest secrets, which Google monetizes to the tune of billions of dollars. It's a monopoly so perfect, the consumer doesn't even realize they are being extracted from. To protect this incredible setup, monopolies rely heavily on principles 4 and 5, regulatory capture and philanthropy. Rockefeller heavily funded medical schools to shape the system in a way that directly benefited his chemical divisions, which, by the way, later became massive pharmaceutical companies. Today, modern corporate strategies often involve funding regulatory bodies through so-called user fees, essentially paying the very systems that are meant to oversee them. And whenever public scrutiny gets a bit too hot, what do? They launch massive philanthropic foundations. Not only does this yield unbelievable tax advantages, but it also allows them to shape global policies under the completely untouchable guise of charity. It's genius, really. Section 4. Red Flags of Dead Competition. So, what does this all mean for you? How do you, as an everyday consumer, spot this trap? How do you know when a market is genuinely competitive and when it's just a matrix designed to extract your hard-earned wealth? Let's walk through a highly practical checklist of red flags. First up, free or unbelievably cheap products. As we saw with telecom, this is almost always predatory pricing designed to starve and kill off smaller competitors. Second, identical pricing across different brands, just like at the petrol pump. That is classic textbook cartel behavior. Third, look out for massive cross-subsidization. For instance, Amazon's retail store barely makes a profit. Their real money comes from AWS, Amazon Web Services, their cloud computing side. They use the billions from AWS to subsidize free shipping on the retail side, effectively crushing local stores. Furthermore, they track the data of third-party sellers on their platform, see what sells best, and then manufacture exact copies under Amazon Basics, pushing the original seller way down the search results. If you start seeing these flags, trust me, the free market in that sector is totally dead. Section 5. The true cost to consumers. Because this reduced market competition directly impacts your daily cost of living, let's actually calculate exactly how much wealth is being systematically extracted from your household. Just in an average year, a typical middle-class family spends somewhere between 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees on petrol and transport, money funneled straight into consolidated energy giants. You probably spend 30,000 to 50,000 on e-commerce and consolidated pharma companies. Then you pay another 50,000 to 1 lakh in interest, EMIs, and fees to massive banking holding companies. Add that up, and that means roughly 3 lakh rupees are being silently extracted from your pocket every single year and routed straight upward into these highly consolidated corporate ecosystems. Let's put that into perspective. Over a 40-year working life, that amounts to over 1 crore rupees just bleeding out of your family's wealth and straight into the pockets of the families that own the system. You might think you have a choice in all this, but you really don't. Try living without petrol, without Amazon's convenience, without a smartphone on a major network, or without a bank account. You can't. All roads lead right back into the matrix. Your consumer choice is an absolute illusion. Section 6. The Investor's Escape Plan. Okay, I know this sounds incredibly gloomy, but understanding this system is actually your greatest superpower. Here is your step-by-step financial escape plan. Step 1. Accept the reality. Stop pretending the free market is going to magically come and save you. It's not. Step 2. Stop exhausting yourself trying to fight it by only buying from inefficient local stores that ultimately just cost you way more time and money. Step 3, and this is the absolutely crucial part, become an owner. If the system is perfectly designed to extract wealth from consumers and push it up to the dominant companies, then you need to be buying shares in those dominant players. Buy Reliance, buy TCS, buy Amazon, buy Google, buy Apple. Invest in the companies that have successfully achieved with that vertical integration and horizontal consolidation we talked about. Look, if they are going to collect all the money in the world anyway, position yourself so the system collects that money for you. You have to transition from being the extractor to being the extractor. John D. Rockefeller famously said, "Competition is a sin." And you know what? He didn't mean it purely out of greed. He genuinely believed that competition was just wasteful. Wasting money, wasting time, and wasting human effort. He believed that massive consolidation was the natural, most efficient end state of any business. And looking at the world 150 years later, it's pretty hard to argue that his vision didn't win. Monopolies, in some shape or form, are practically inevitable. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative question. Are you going to remain an extracted consumer, just bleeding your wealth into the system day after day? Or are you going to use this knowledge, buy into the dominant players, and finally become an owner? The choice of how you play the game is entirely yours. Listen, if this explainer opened your eyes and you found value in this breakdown, please hit that subscribe button. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear how you plan to navigate this matrix. And for sure, make sure to like and share this with anyone in your life who needs to wake up to this financial reality. Thanks so much for watching the Be Relevant series, and I'll catch you in the next one.